Welcome to the Neighborhood Law Center. I'm your host, Melvin Burruss. And today we're fortunate to have with us our guest, which is Charlie Rogers, who is President and CEO of ICC, which is Innovative Software Solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, our title today is what you need to do to become a minority software company. Charlie's going to run us through how he did it, because it's a unique kind of small business company, minority company, who extensively do work in software development for small business. So, Charlie, tell us first about yourself. Give our...
Oh, absolutely. As you mentioned, my name is Charlie, but I'm a pastor. I pastor out in Greene County at Calvary Chapel. I'm also a father. I've been with my wife for over 30 years, and we have 8 kids, all grown up in the Charlottesville area. And I'm also involved with nonprofits. We have a foundation. That helps the community and raise funds in the community for STEM. And I'm also the CEO and president of Innovative Software Solutions, as you mentioned. So I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so how did you get started in this business? It's so unique that you see an African American running a small business software innovative technical company here in Charlottesville.
You're absolutely correct. And it actually started when I was 8 years old. I had a mother that told me I can do. She never told me what I couldn't do. And I grew up in the projects, and in the projects there were so many of people that would tell you what you cannot do. Mm-hmm. And my mother always told me that even in the projects, the Lord can change a project person to have their own company. And I always believed that. So when I was about 8, I started my first company. I was able to convince people to convert their birth certificates into little card versions of their birth certificates. So I would go, my big cheeks and smiling, and I would knock on people's doors and say, hey, my name's Charlie. I have a business. I'd like to help you convert your birth certificate into a little card. And I did that for a little while, but I could tell you it was so exciting. I exited my first business with $15 in my pocket, and you couldn't tell me anything.
That's great.
And I knew at that point, with my mother telling me that, the Lord can take a kid from the projects and take him to a business owner, having those opportunities like that. And of course, I had more as I grew up with opportunities to see what it's like to have a business. Those kind of led me and gave me the desire that maybe I can get out of the projects and maybe I can start a business.
So what town or city did you grow up in?
So I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia. And back in those days, Portsmouth, Virginia was considered probably some of the worst projects, not just in Virginia, but also in the country. And when you're in that kind of environment, I think there's 2 ways to approach that environment. Right? You can look at that environment and you can say, how can I be the best whatever inside of that environment? Or you can have the approach of how can I get out of this environment, because this is not right. Mm-hmm. And the Lord definitely put on my heart to get out. I felt like there were, things that I could be doing that could help change the world, change this environment. And it wasn't necessarily being in the environment, doing the things in the environment. It was getting out of the environment. So, and so the Lord, it was a passion of mine to get out of that environment, to then come back and be able to give to that environment. And that's always been a passion.
Okay, so the Lord gave you that entrepreneur spirit early in your career. Mm-hmm. So how did your current business come about?
So that's a great question. So when I graduated from college, I started working at GE Fanuc, which is right up, not too far from here.
I'm 29?
I'm 29, absolutely. And I started working there. And after being there for about 6 months, I was brought into a room with this nice big round table, a little bit bigger than this. And there were people in the room, and they all looked like people of wisdom, right? They started to look a little bit like me. And they said, Charlie, we going to start a project from scratch, ground zero. And that's very rare in technology. And we are liking that to going to the Super Bowl. And in engineering, just like in football, you may get to go to Super Bowl once, maybe twice in your whole life. And we were asking you to be on this team and enjoy it. Okay, because this may not happen again in your career. You may end up being on the same product for years. So I was able to get started on that project, and it was absolutely like they said. It was innovative. It was software that had never been written before. We were creating solutions that were unbelievable. We were using this new operating system called Windows, you know, because the current product we were working with, the legacy product was written on a DOS, for DOS.
DOS, yeah.
And so for 3-4 years, I'm working with this team of, it was probably a team of 250. It was 250. And we were working on this team, and I tell you what, when that project was over, I had the itch. I was like, man, working on projects from ground zero, that's awesome.
So identifying problems and come up with solutions.
Oh, absolutely. Identifying problems and come up with solutions. That just excited me. And so about a year after that, of course, now we do that one project, I get promoted a little bit, right? So now I'm managing 10 people. All right. So about a year later, GE comes back to me and say, hey, we got another ground zero project. You did so well on that other one, your team, we want you involved with this one. All right, so we get started on that project, and oh my gracious, it's the same kind of experience. It's like unbelievable. You're taking a whiteboard with nothing on it. We create a product. The product does well. Innovation, software, all this is just wrapped up into that. And I'm thinking, okay, now I've gone to Super Bowl 2 times in my career. And then, of course, what happens with that is you get promoted again, right?
Oh, okay.
So now I'm getting promoted, and at this point, I'm running a team of almost 250 people. There is no more work on new stuff. There's solve people problems day after day after day.
No longer solve software problems.
People problems.
People problems.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I get a call from a company, and they say, "Hey, look, we're going to start this new product from ground zero. We heard about you. Would you be interested in coming on board?" So I my wife and I, we prayed about it. We talked about it because GE was. Back then, GE was the Amazon, the Google, the Facebook. And so,
now, give us a time frame. What year was this approximately?
So we are talking 1999.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you were you were one of the first to get into this. Yeah.
So
just
1999.
Just before the great technical, what we call it, technical stocks.
Yeah. The
tanks,
.com. Yeah.
.com
the
stuff.
big tank. So I leave GE and I started working with this company, and I started working with that company in May of 1999. And it was interesting is when I started working for that company, their shares were at 5 cents a share because they were associated with a bigger company out of Canada. So anyway, we started developing that product, and by January that following year, 2000, we finished the product. The stocks for that company goes up to $15. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
And at this point now, I've gone to Super Bowl three times. And right after that process, helping that company get started, eventually that company exited. I started my own business, ISS, and said, you know what? I love helping people start projects from ground zero. Entrepreneurs come through the door, ideas, we take that idea and they walk out of the door with a company. I said, I love this, and started the company. And I have to say that I've gone to the Super Bowl more times than Brady, and I've won more than Brady. So,
Okay.
So I've had a career that, it's just been full of going to Super Bowls, helping others fulfill their dream of starting a tech company.
Well, for those who are young engineers or young MBAs who are thinking about starting a company, what was your background or education to give you those technical skills that you feel so confident that you can get into with 200 people and excel?
Well, let me recall that I grew up in the projects, and I only applied to one college because college was not something that my generation grew up with. And I only applied for that college because my guidance counselor said, you should try to apply for a college. I said, well, no one in my family has ever gone to college. Who can I talk to? Who can help me figure this out? And so she helped me figure it out. She helped me fill out the application and everything. And we sent that to ODU. And ODU asked me, they say, well, how about you come in and take some tests? Let's make sure you can handle college. And I took the entrance test and bombed like crazy, right? I did very well on the math side. On the English side, I spelled my name right. The rest of it, I'm probably not sure what I did on that, right? But ODU saw something that I didn't even see in myself, and mainly because of my math part, they accepted me in. And back then, ODU didn't have a lot of African Americans in ODU. And
More or less in engineering or math.
More or less in engineering, right? I think they had one, and that was me.
Okay.
But and so ODU, took me in, and I realized this was really a great opportunity. And I do have to tell the story though, is that once I got into ODU, and I'm all excited to start college, be that first person, be that that first mover in my generation,
Trailblazer.
that trailblazer, and I get to my first computer science class because I'm majoring in computer science, and there's about 100 students in that class, and the professor walks in. I believe he had on some military garb, and he walks in with this big book, and he throws the book on the table, and he turns around and look at everybody, and he says, wow, there's 100 of you out here. And I'm all excited, I'm bubbly, and can't believe I'm in college. Wow, this is great, And he said, every year we graduate 15 kids in computer science. There's 100 of you. You got a problem.
Look to your right, look to your left. Your buddy won't be there. Huh?
And he did it. He did something even more graphical. He said, "Everyone stand up." He said, "If you've never had access to a computer, or you don't own a computer, sit down." I looked around, and I had to sit down. Then he said, if your senior year is the first time, sit down. And he kept going down until he got to about the 8th grade, and it was about 15 people standing up. He said, I want y'all all to look around. That's about the 15 that's going to graduate. The rest of you, go change your major. And I remember being devastated. And I left school. I went back home. College wasn't for me, obviously.
Wow.
And I got home, and I remember being very disappointed. My mother back then was at the internet before the internet came out. So when I came home, and she realized I came home because I didn't feel like I could make it because I didn't have a computer, she went out on the internet the way they did it back in those days. And about a week or so after I was home, we had a knock on the door. And we go open the door, and it was an agency bringing me a brand new computer. And they didn't know me. They didn't know my background. They just gave some love. Completely changed my perspective, changed my life. Because, growing up in the projects, and not just growing up in projects, any underserved, underrepresented person have a lot of ideas, a lot of aspirations, but it's typically divorced of opportunity. And when they gave that computer, they gave me opportunity. And I remember it changed my life. It was again, to me, unconditional love like that is what bridges divides. Like we talk about the social divide and the digital divide. unconditional love like that bridges those divides, right? And so I took that computer. Eventually, I went back to college, and eventually I did graduate. And when on graduation day, I said, I'm gonna walk over and see how many kids actually graduate from computer science. And I was counting 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13. 13 graduated, and I was one. So that professor was right. Only about 15 will graduate, but the professor was wrong. I was one of them. So, you ask the education. Some of us may not feel like we. I grew up in the projects, right? That's why I had that issue. My mother wasn't trying to put a computer on the table. She was trying to put food on the table. For me, having a pair of pants and shoes to go to school. That was more important. In fact, I never missed a day out of school, and it wasn't because I was trying to be a genius. It's because I was guaranteed breakfast. I was guaranteed a lunch. So that's how you eat. And so I would say that don't think you have to be a genius. Don't think you have to be brilliant. Don't think you have to be in the top 1% in your class. Just never give up on your dream.
Perseverance. Taking advantage of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're almost halfway through, and so I want to let our audience know, welcome to the Neighborhood Law Center. I'm your host, Melvin Burruss, and our guest, we're fortunate to have Charlie Rogers, President and CEO of Innovative Software Solutions. And we're talking about today what you need to do to become a minority software company. Now that we talked about the background, what does your company do, ISS?
So ISS, we've been around now for almost 20 years. We have just a little under 40 employees. Our headquarters is in Charlottesville. And our mission is to make it easy for entrepreneurs. That's anybody with an idea. That's what we call an entrepreneur. To make it easy for entrepreneurs to turn concepts and ideas into companies.
Whether they have a company or not.
And for companies to focus on their core competencies by alleviating tech frustrations. So if you look at that mission statement, we have two that we work with. We work with entrepreneurs that have ideas, and we work with companies that have already in place, but you just need some help. Mm-hmm. And let me give you an example of those two. Let's say Melvin.
Okay.
Melvin walked into our office. Melvin's an entrepreneur because Melvin has an idea. Melvin has an idea of an app that would change the law industry. And Melvin doesn't know much about technology or anything, but he just knows he has this idea. Melvin would come through our doors and explain us the idea, and we'll put Melvin on a 15-step program that we offer, right? And it's broken up into three phases. So in the first phase, we'll work with Melvin just to visualize his concept. So you have this idea in your head, and then once we'll do it, we'll take that idea out of your head and create a prototype so that, because it's a mobile app, we'll make it so that it looks like it's running on this phone, and you can play and look at it, and you go, that is exactly what was in my head. So that first phase, we help you to get a tangible visualization of what you were thinking that you want. And in order to do that, we do a marketing analysis with you. We have ideation phase where we have these whiteboards and we kind of take you through things. We have prototype, which we put on that sheet. And then we'll take Melvin and put him in front of investors to get investing to get this idea implemented. And then once we finish that first phase, we take Melvin to our second phase, which is our development team. And in that team, we have a team that's been together for many years. We've implemented applications in all kinds of industries, from fintech to medical, to construction, to entertainment, all types of games. Those guys will just take care of you. They'll get the application written. And then what makes us unique, we have a third team, which is our care team, which then take your application, put it out there so that your customers can have access to it. They'll put it on the server and all that for you. And then we surround you with a mentor team, an advisory team, and we help you with marketing and all those things. And then, Melvin, there you go. You came in with nothing, and you walking out with a business, and then you out there making millions.
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive.
Everything.
And then for enterprises, we have, for instance, we have a local. First thing that came to my mind is we have a local fintech company. That owner may come through the door pulling his hair because he wants to focus on Wall Street from 9:30 to 5, but his current application is crashing, it's causing issues and those types of things. So he can't focus on his core competencies. So he would come to us, we evaluate the situation, and we assign a team. It may be a team of 2, a team of 3, and that team is purely dedicated to that organization, and they go in and help resolve and alleviate all those issues. Whether it's crashing in the program, they write the code, they clean that up. If there's an application missing, they write that application. So we help those 2 type of people. In fact, the one we just finished locally, the app is out on the App Store at Investors Observer. If you go there, you'll see the app that we just completed for them. So those are the 2 people.
I've seen that.
You have?
Yes. Okay. Hey, we're getting down to the time where, before we run out of time, I'd like for you what inspired you to start the Charitable Foundation, and what was it?
Oh, yeah. So that's a great question. And remember when I told you I was in college and I didn't have access to a computer because I grew up in the projects. And then someone gave me a computer, and I said, that changed my life. That took my aspirations and married it with opportunity. And I remember when I graduated, I said, you know what? When I make it, and I didn't know what make it even meant at that time, I want to give back. I want to do that same kind of thing. I want to help change other people's trajectory and be used in a mighty way to do that. And so it has always been a passion of mine. And about 2.5 years ago, I was going through LinkedIn. I know everyone's probably familiar with LinkedIn. And there was an article, and this article talked about all the big companies, the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebook, how they all made a pact to get more minorities involved in their business and to help minorities in STEM. And Wall Street Journal was doing a what's your grade kind of article, and their grade was a big fat F. Mm-hmm. In those 6 years since they made that pact, they were not really progressing in that. And I remember looking at that and going, that's unbelievable. Before I can really get too worked up, I saw another comment to that. And that comment to that was, this is absolutely wrong and needs to change right now. And that text was from Tobias, who's the CEO of Willow Tree. And I said, I know I have a passion for that. Sounds like he has a passion for that. He's not an African American. Mm-hmm. I said, if we both came together, he owns a tech company, I own a tech company, and if we come together, that can change everything. So I reached out to Tobias and say, Tobias, here's an idea. Here's a golf tournament idea. And Tobias said, I'm on board. And so we got together and we created Drive for STEM.
Drive for STEM.
Mm-hmm. And Drive for STEM is an annual golf tournament meant to bring the community together to foster communication, diversity, and unity while funding STEM opportunities for the youth. So 2 years ago, we had the first event, and we were able to raise enough money to give $30,000 to Computer for Kids. And for 3 kids out of Charlottesville High School, we were able to provide them brand new laptop computers and fully funded STEM camps that they can take, right? So that was the first year. We just finished second year. This year, we were able to give Computer for Kids $43,000. And then we're going to help 6 kids with computers and with STEM camps to UVA, fully paid for. One of the recipients, when we gave them the computer, she was full of tears. She was sobbing, lips quivering. And she said, I did not know that there were people out there that cared about me who do not even know me.
That's profound.
right? That's why I say, love is the one thing that can bridge digital and social divides. And right now in our business, we are as serious about growing the business, but we are doubly serious about helping our community and helping those that want to be engineers, that want to be something, that just need opportunity and aspirations married. That's what we are about.
Okay, you got 30 seconds to give me a quote or a piece of advice you'd like to leave with our audience.
I would say this. I would say never, 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 never give up. Because where the Lord guides, He always provides.
Okay. Thank you very much, Charlie. We're going to have you back.
Yes,
shortly.
please do. I would love to.
Okay. All right, I'm going to sum up. This is Melvin Burruss with the Neighborhood Law Center. You can check us out on neighborhoodlawcenter.com or go to YouTube and type in Neighborhood Law Center. Or remember, we're on Channel 13 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Just check your daily listing. Until then, this is Melvin Burruss with Charlie Rogers, CEO, President of Innovative Solutions, Software Solutions, saying thank you for watching, and you'll see you next week. Peace and God bless.